Mitaku yepi ampetuashte, Alex machiapelo. Today we're going to be looking at kinship vocabulary. I have a little bit of preliminary stuff to talk about before we actually get looking at the tree. The first thing is, if you look in the video description, you'll find a link to a list of family vocabulary on LakotaLanguageLearning.com. But I find it easier to learn many of these words through looking at a family tree like the one that we have right here. It's easier to see who's related to who and how relationships work and everything like that. For this tree, the first thing that we're going to be doing is looking at it from the perspective of Lucy Little Moon, and then we're going to be looking at it from the perspective of her brother, Gus Lean Bear. So all Lakota kinship terms have 8 forms. The vocative, first person singular, second person singular, third person singular, first person plural, second person plural, third person plural, and the verb form. In this lesson, we'll be using the first person singular form, which means that all of these terms mean my ... So my mother, my father, my son, my daughter, my cousin, whatever it might be, they all mean my. And you can find the rest of these forms of these verbs, so your, his, their, etc. You can find those on LakotaLanguageLearning.com at the link in the description that I'm going to give. And then finally, there will be some terms not shown on these family trees that we're going to go over, and it's not because they're not important, it's just because they didn't fit well onto the tree, or reasons like that. And so you can find those terms on the LakotaLanguageLearning.com post that's going to be in the description. So without talking about any more preliminary stuff, we can get right into this family tree. So we see that the person, as I said, that we're going to be following here is Lucy Little Moon. So Lucy Little Moon, emachiape. So I am Lucy Little Moon in this example. And the first thing that we can see is I am married to Joseph Little Moon. And so Joseph Little Moon, I would call my husband, mihingna. And then we see that Lucy and Joseph have had a child. So we have my son. So blue means man, pink means woman. So we have my son, Michinkshi. And then we have the daughter-in-law right here. So Jane is married to Robert. And to say child-in-law, so whether it's son or daughter-in-law, we say mitchakosh. If we look over here, we can see that Joseph used to be married to Karen, but they got divorced. And so for Lucy, to say my stepdaughter, as is Lily right here, Lucy says mitchawacha. So my stepdaughter. Now we go and we look over here and we see that Lucy is also divorced. And so she used to be married to Juan Ramirez, and they had 2 children together, Maria and Jorge. So Maria is, for Lucy, my daughter. And so we say michunkshi. And then we have my son right here, once again, michinkshi. And then we can see both of them are married, and so we have our children-in-law, mitchakosh, and mitchakosh, my child-in-law. And then we see that they've all had children. So these are our grandchildren. Also, no different gendered term for this, and so we just say mitchakoja. So that's this part of the tree. Now we want to move over and look at brothers and sisters. So brother and sister terms are, it's important to know that they change depending on the gender of the person that's talking. And so most all of these are going to be words that women use. Actually, everything that I'm circling with the mouse right here, except for the term misunkala, is terms that women use that don't change whether or that do change depending on whether a man or a woman is saying them, except for misunkala, and then also except for michinshila and michunkshila, which we'll look at later. Right now, for siblings, we have misunkala. This means younger brother, misunkala. Tiblo, which means older brother. We have older sister, chue, and then we have younger sister, mitran. And then you can see over here we have one more tiblo, so older brother. So all of these are saying my older brother, younger brother, older sister, younger sister, whatever it might be. Now, we can see that they all are, or some of them are married, and also some of them have children, but we're going to come back to that in a minute because we want to learn something else first that will help us be able to better understand this part with their children and everything. So let us look at the parents of Lucy. So Lucy has my mother and my father. Ina, my mother, and then ate, my father. And we can see that there's grandfathers and grandmothers here. So my grandmother, unchi, and then we have grandfather, which can either be lala, kaka, or trunkashila. And these terms aren't interchangeable. There's a situation in which we use each one of them. So trunkashila is the more formal term that we want to use. And so, for example, if I was giving a speech to an audience at a conference and I wanted to say, my grandfather is whatever, I would say trunkashila because I'm being formal. I want to say trunkashila because it's more formal. Lala and kaka are both informal, and so you use them when you're talking with family or with friends, situations like that. And Lala is used by people who speak Northern Lakota, and so that is the Lakota that's spoken on Standing Rock or on northern parts of Cheyenne River or in the Tratrankayo-Take Oyanke, the Lakota Reserve in Canada. And then we have Kaka, which is said by people on the southern parts of Cheyenne River, by people on Lower Brule, and then Rosebud and Pine Ridge. So Lala is northern, Kaka is southern, and those are those terms. Now we want to go over and look at aunts and uncles, and we're going to start with aunts and uncles on the father's side. So we have our ate, Tim Lean Bear. So if I say Lucy Little Moon, Imachiape, and then I say my father ate, and then we go over here. My father's brother, Aaron, is called my atela. So father's brother is atela. And then my father's brother's wife is truwila. And then if we look over here, we have father's sister. So truwi. And then father's sister's husband, Lakshila. Now, there's something really important to know within these terms, and it is that atela means little father. Atela means little father. The reason that this is important to know is because father's brothers are seen as a father, as not exactly equal to your father, but close enough. And so for that reason, because he's your little father, that means that his children are your brothers and sisters. And so we can see right here, we have tiblo and chue for terms for brother and sister. And you could say either big brother or little brother, big sister or little sister. So you could replace tiblo with misunkala. You could replace chue with mitra. and all of that functions perfectly fine. It's just that they're seen as your brothers and sisters. But for your father's sister, her children have their own unique terms. So the male child of your father's sister is shicheshi, and then the female child of your father's sister is shchepranshi. And then people will also say shchepranshi. And if you're not sure which one to use, then you can ask family, or you can just choose on your own. But yes, these are the terms for these family members right here. And so, just going over it one more time, we have our ate, and then ate's brother is atela, ate's sister is truwi, and then atela is married to truwila, and truwi is married to lekshila. Notice how, and we'll see this on the mother's side too, the sibling of the parent that is of the same gender of the parent is going to be your little father or your little mother. And we'll look at that really quickly on the mother's side. So we have Ina right here, my mother, Ina. We go over and we see that she has a sister and a brother. So her sister is called Inala, so little mother. That's what you refer to her as, Inala, my little mother. And then her husband is called Lekshila. And then the mother's brother is called Lekshi, and his wife is called Truwila. So if we look at their children, we can see, since Inala means little mother, since she's of the same gender as one's mother, that means that her children are going to be your brothers and sisters. So these are Lucy's brothers and sisters right here. So we have Chua for big sister, and then Misunkala for little brother. And you could say Mitran right here or Tiblo right here. It just depends on the age that they are from you. For the opposite gender of the mother, which is her brother, then his children are going to be Shicheshi and Shchepranshi, because they are of a different gender of the parent. So the children of the brother or sister that is of the same gender of the parent is going to be brothers and sisters, but the children of the sibling of a different gender than the parent is going to be Shicheshi or Shchepranshi. So that's a good thing to remember. It's probably the most complicated part of the vocabulary of all of this, if you just get started on knowing all this sort of stuff. So we have that down. And so what we're going to go and look at right now is now the terms for nephew and niece. So if we look here, we have Lucy right here, and we're looking at her brother. Now, her brother is, of course, of a different gender than her. And so there are going to be unique terms for his children. So we can see the person he's married to is Shchepra. So that's the word for sister, sister-in-law, Shchepra. And then his son is called Troshka. So nephew, that's the word for nephew, Troshka. And then for niece, Trojan. And we can see the same thing right here with Gus. So since he's of the different gender than Lucy is, then we have Trojan and Troshka for the terms that we use for his children. And then we can see that sister-in-law right here, Shchepra, So the same thing with that. Now, the important thing that we want to look at here is Josephine, so the sister of Lucy. The sister of Lucy is of the same gender of Lucy, and for that reason, that means that these children right here, so the children of Josephine, see Lucy as their Inala, as their little mother. Since they see Lucy as their Inala, that means that Lucy sees them as her little children. And so, for the children of your sibling, who is of the same gender of you, so the sibling is of the same gender, their terms are going to be Michinkshila and Michunkshila. So Michinkshila for boys, and then Michunkshila for girls. And then we can see right here that the term for brother-in-law is Shich'e. Shich'e. Okay, so we have that, and we have just one more thing that we want to look at, something very easy, and it's just the name for in-laws. So of course Lucy is married to Joseph, and so we want to know, okay, what do you call the parents of Joseph? What does Lucy call the parents of Joseph? And so she says Unchishi for her mother-in-law, Unchishi, and then for her father-in-law she says Tronkanshi. Tronkanshi. So that is the entirety of the family tree. Actually, we have one more thing that we want to look at right here. So Juan, Mihingna Trani. So we went over how the term for husband is Mihingna. When you say Mihingna Trani, Trani in this context means ex. So it means ex-husband. And men can use the same thing. So the term for wife, to be able to say my wife, is mitrawichu. And so if a man were to want to say ex-wife, then he would say mitrawichu trani. Mitrawichu trani. And that is, finally this time, all of the terms that women use for a family tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to now look at a family tree for men to see the words that men say, and we will go and look at that right now. Okay, here we are looking at the same family as we were looking at last time. It's just now, instead of focusing on Lucy, now we're focusing on Gus. So Gus, Imachiapelo. I am Gus for this example. And we can we'll see that many of the terms are the same as last time, but some of them have changed, particularly sibling terms. So people on the same level of Gus, and then also people a level down, a generation down from Gus. But generation up, either 1 or 2 levels is I believe all the same, if I just think about it really quickly. So let's look at what we have here. First, we have Gus's wife. So for a man to say, well, for anyone to say my wife, you would say mitrawichu. Mitrawichu. And then we can click on his wife and see that the terms for stepmother and stepfather are the same. So we have unchishi and tronkanshi. So unchishi means mother-in-law, tronkanshi means father-in-law. And then we can also see that the terms for children are the same. So we have michunkshi and michinkshi. So michunkshi for my daughter, michinkshi for my son. Okay, and then let's go up and look at the parent level. So we have my father, ate, same thing. My mother, ina, same thing. My grandmother, unchi, and my grandfather, lala or kaka or trunkashila, depending on level of formality and also where you're from. So all of these terms are the same. And then we want to go over and look at our aunt and uncle terms. So we'll start with the father first, the father side. Ate. We have our father's brother, which is Atela, and then his wife, Tuila. And then we have our father's sister, Tui, and our father's sister's husband, Lekshila. Okay, and then we'll go over to this side. So we have Ina, our mother, my mother. And then we see mother's sister is called Inala. Mother's sister's husband, Lekshila. We have our mother's brother, which is called Lekshi, and then his wife, Tuila. Okay, so with that done, let's look at the terms for brother and sister, because these ones are significantly different. So the one that stays the same is the term for little brother, which we can see right here. Little brother is misunkala. And then we have big sister, tranke. Little sister, trankshi. And then finally, big brother, chia. And we can see one more over here. If we look at Lucy, then we can see Lucy is mitran. So or actually this should be changed because it is not mitran, because that is a woman's term. And so we want to change this for Gus really quickly. And so we would say trankshi. A little bit of editing on the fly here. So there we go. We have trankshi, my little sister, for Gus talking about his little sister Lucy. Because trankshi is the men's term, mitran is the woman's term, and we want to make sure that we're using the correctly gendered term. So there we go. We have our brothers and sisters. And so now let's look across at our cousins. So we can see that we have our father here, ate, and then we have our atela. Since our atela is of the same gender and is our little father as our father, so of the same gender of our father, and then is also called our little father, then that means his children are going to be our brothers and sisters. So we have chia, big brother right here, and then tranka, big sister right here. But if we look at the father's sister, which is of the different gender of the father, then this is our trui, and therefore there's going to be unique terms for her children. So men say trahanshi for their male cousin, trahanshi, and then they say hankashi for their female cousin, hankashi. Trahanshi, hankashi. So we have that, and then we can go over to the other side, so the side of our ina, my mother, and see the same thing. So we see the sister of the mother is inala, and so since she is the little mother, then that means that her children are going to be our brothers and sisters. So we have tranke right here, which is big sister, and then misunkala, little brother. And then we see that our lekshi, which is the brother of our mother, because he's of a different gender, they have these unique terms here for his children. So we have trahanshi, trahanshi for the boy, for his boy, and then hankashi for the girl. So trahanshi for male cousin, hankashi for female cousin. Good. And then the last thing that we have to look at here is the generation one down from Gus. So we already know that his daughter is called Michunkshi and his son is called Michinkshi. But what about his nieces and nephews? So the sibling of opposite gender, their children have their own unique terms. So we see for male, or for nephew, I should say, the term is tronchka, tronchka. And then for niece, it's tronjan, tronjan. And then when we look over here, we look at the sibling of Gus that's the same gender as Gus. And so we have Misunkala, my little brother. And we look down at his children. They see Gus as Atela because Gus is the brother of their father. And so since they see him as Atela, he sees them as little children. And so he says Michinkshila, Michinkshila, and Michunkshila. Michunkshila. And you can see you can see this little children part right here. So Gus's daughter is called Michunkshi. And then right here, his niece through his brother is called Michunkshila. And so it's got that la on the end, la meaning little. And you can see Michinkshi right here, and then Michinkshila. And then finally, we have the step brothers and step sisters. So you can see a step sister is called Hanka, Hanka, and then a step brother right here is called Trahan, Trahan. So there's just two things that I want to point out. One is a good thing to be able to know when looking at these or when thinking about family terms that might help when you're memorizing them. And then another is a way to use this video. So one thing that it would be good to know is that when you have these sort of far removed relations that are either cousins or they're sort of considered in-laws and things like that, all these end, or the cousin terms end in she, and then the in-law terms are the same term and just don't end in she. So for example, you can see trahanshi is how you say cousin from the different gender of whatever your parent is. Trahanshi for male. And so you look over at brother-in-law and you see it's also trahan, trahan. And same for, you have female cousin here, hankashi, and then sister-in-law is hanka. So same thing, just without the she on the end. The same thing happens with parents-in-law. So you have unchishi. So this is the same term as grandmother. It's just, it uses she on the end. And then tronkanshi. This is the same term as grandfather, although it's a little different and it has she on the end. So just some things that you can use to remember those a little bit better. It also works on the woman's side. So for example, a male cousin is shicheshi, and then a brother-in-law is shiche. Now, one thing I suggest that you do with this YouTube video is watch it without the sound on. So you can just look at the family tree on your own, look at how everything's working and all the relations between the people, both on through the men's vocabulary and the women's vocabulary, because in that way you'll start to see how the branches work a little bit better, and it'll help you remember the vocabulary words more. The reason I did this video and showed around this family tree is because I think that being able to visually see the tree helps a lot more in being able to see the different levels of terms and the different generations of people and how those terms change for generations and everything like that. But that is all that I have for this video, and so I hope that you have learned something from this, that you'll be able to say your kinship terms a little bit better. Don't forget that you can see all of the kinship terms in all their forms on LakotaLanguageLearning.com, and I'll put the link to the specific post that shows all that in the description to this video. And so that is all that I have for you. Have a good day wherever you are. Toksha.